estate agency brand versus personal brand. Simon Leadbetter, ex-head of marketing for Countrywide, Knight Frank, and Fine and Country. Talk to me.
Brand. You're in a safe space for me now when it comes to brand. I love brand. I talk brand a lot because I'm naturally a marketer.
So, I mean, what is a brand? It's your logo, isn't it? And your font and everything else like that, isn't it?
Absolutely is nothing to do with those things. They're a tiny fraction of what a brand is.
Oh, then why don't you tell the rest of the bloody estate agents think that's what their brand is?
Yeah,
Logo.
It's not just a sticker above the door. It's not how you treat your logo. That's part of it. That's the visual cue to what's coming next.
Okay.
But what your brand really is about is what is your promise. So when I see that brand, I expect that brand to mean something. So if I get a Ryanair flight, am I expecting 5-star luxury service, or I'm expecting the cheapest flight to that location? It won't be the most comfortable, it won't be the most luxurious, but it's £1 with all the add-ons, which often takes it to a much higher price. But Ryanair is one of the most trusted brands because it makes a promise it isn't anything it isn't. It says, this is what we are, like it or lump it, and you will lump it if you choose it. And that's what that brand is. So it's, yes, there has to be consistent coding of what that brand means. So the identity, the look and feel.
Almost what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Exactly that. Exactly. If we weren't there, what would they say about it? The honesty would be, I know what EasyJet is. I know what Ryanair is. I also know what Virgin Upper Class is. I know what those things stand for. So brand really, really matters. And actually, there's a great report which people should Google called The Long and the Short of It. It's probably one of the biggest studies that's ever been done on where brand marketing sits against what's the other type of marketing, which is sales activation market. So the stuff that drives responses. I send out direct mail today, I get a phone call, sales activation. Brand is all the stuff that happens before you get that response.
So that previous one was sales marketing. We're talking about brand marketing.
Yes, yes, exactly. So sales marketing drives a response.
So basically, click here for a free valuation.
Exactly.
That's not brand marketing, is
That's sales marketing.
Just because it has your logo on doesn't mean it's okay. The problem with sales marketing is you switch it on, it's expensive, and you switch it off, it stops.
It's binary, on off, response not, response not, response
the problem
not.
with brand marketing is that you don't know what works and what does work and what doesn't work, and it's very hard to measure.
I won't disagree with you, but the reality is there's a lot of science behind it now of what does work. It's just as an industry, we don't apply the science. So there's actually a lot of attribution you can put in that judges how your brand marketing is working.
And remember, the original question was estate agency branding versus personal branding. So let's take us on a little journey, which brings us back to the original question.
So to link directly to that, most businesses I've worked with in an estate agency are obsessed with sales marketing. It's all about do this, get a result tomorrow. We've done the activity. Why is the phone not ringing? Why are we not getting emails or Google clicks? The reality is the most effective brands, be they personal or corporate, invest in the long-term brand awareness they have. There's a huge correlation between how well your brand is known and how many customers you had. It's like 91% correlation, and it goes higher with various bigger brands that are more impactful.
So again, brand marketing is not necessarily come and use us now. It's the drip, drip, drip that will get me the valuation in a year, 2 years, 5 years.
Exactly. It's the kind of the taxonomy you go from, I don't know about you, to I'm aware that you exist. You have my attention.
Okay, but brand awareness doesn't mean brand choice.
No, it doesn't, because what you need to move people through, and this is where the emotional side of brand, so I know of your brand, I like your brand, and actually I've got interest in your brand. So when I think of that product set, whatever it is, estate agency, you're front of mind. I recall you immediately. I've just done some research with Opinion on how many estate agents, local people, can recall top of mind. So if you think of the estate agents in your area that are currently listing properties, how many can you think of the top of your mind? And the average is about 3. So
and they're the 3 that you'll call out for the valuation.
Exactly. And you need to be in those top 3. Now, brand awareness, if you work for a corporate brand, the brand is doing the work for you.
The heavy lifting.
The heavy lifting. That's going to get you listed because they're not.
That's going to get you called out.
Get you called out. My apologies, misspoke. They're going to get you called out. They're going to think of Jane or John because you work for that brand. So they don't know you're going to get Jane or John. They're going to call that brand, and then Jane or John are going to come out.
Yes.
In the new world that we're moving to towards social media, where new world, it's not a new world anymore, the world of social media, personal brand has become as important, I think, because a lot of people will be contacted because of their personal brand as much as the corporate brand. And a lot of the corporate brands aren't doing them any favors because they're not investing in the brand. They're not investing the money they need to do to make that brand really worth something to the individual. So actually the individual,
Because they're in sales marketing, gives the vowels, gives the vowels, gives the
exactly,
vowels.
they're not spending for emotional reaction
Okay.
to a brand.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of personal branding, or as I hate the phrase, I prefer the word reputation building.
Yeah.
But put the two together
You,
and it's magic.
you can't lose. If you have a really, this is where, again, people like some of the local independents, some of the prime quartile brands have done, is the brand is very strong, the corporate brand. So it means it stands for something as the local expert or the demographic expert, but also the individual agents within it are rock stars.
But if you actually look at probably the top 10, top 20 estate agents, not many of them are putting their valuers and listers on a pedestal doing
No.
personal branding.
No.
It's almost that they don't, it's almost their marketing department don't want them to do it because they might have a loose cannon.
I think that is the big risk of any individual branding. It can go horribly wrong. You know, an individual can make a terrible mistake quite quickly, but that's where you need to help people. You know, it's not about being radical out there. There's some very basic things in terms of the kind of videos that you can do. You know, they learn from you, they can learn from other great estate agents how to do a short video about what's going on in that area. Follow a script.
But isn't it interesting? Before COVID, there was a top 10 estate agent who paid for all of their valuers to have cameras and microphones. And basically, they were told that as long as they did so many videos on their properties and other stuff, they would enable them to have their end of year bonus.
Yep.
So they would have their commission, but if they did this, this, and this, they would get their end of year bonus, which was worth £2,000 or £3,000. And isn't it interesting that so many estate agents refused to do the videos?
Absolutely.
Even though they knew they would lose £3,000. It's that fear of getting themselves out there, putting their head above the parapet.
And it's a real shame because all the data that I've seen from the social media perspective, it's called social media for a reason. It's about being social. And an individual who shares a post, even if it's been originated by a company, the individually shared post, whatever the content is way more powerful than the corporate shared post. You know, and I say to people, if you don't want to create content, curate content. So if you want to create content that, you know, you want to do videos or whatever, which you should do, but if you don't want to, I respect that. Take someone else's content, personalize it. Take that video and put some content above it that says, I saw this and thought of you. What my perspective on this would be. Hope you enjoyed the video.
And if you can't do video, do a podcast. And you know, you've got an audio button on your phone, and you can use Anchor.fm. I got to use
Brilliant.
Okay,
Anchor FM's brilliant.
and you can create an iTunes podcast in seconds. I actually did it on stage in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Set the Grantham podcast up in 3 minutes by using Anchor, and it was on iTunes.
And it has the magic words for me: free, 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 and free. And already, if you reach 10 people, if those 10 people, one of them is interested, that's probably the best marketing you will ever do.
And if not, just the written word, just communicate with people.
Exactly. I'm a huge believer in VAs, virtual assistants. I'm a huge believer in there's a lot of talented people out there on things like Fiverr who will take some of your words and turn them into a carousel or turn them into an image. You know, find different ways to repurpose content and just get it as wide as possible.
Definitely.
Because if your corporate brand isn't going to do the stuff it needs to do, and some of them do, but most don't, you're going to have to rely on your personal brand, because if they don't know who you are or what you think, they're never going to call you.
You're just another number, aren't you? I'm sorry, but you are.
You're just one of those many
I was
people.
talking to a valuer this morning who is not sure whether to go down the self-employed route. And I said, stay in your current role for the next 2 years, build a personal brand whilst working for your firm. What if my boss says no? You're not going to ask their opinion. You're not going to ask their permission. You're just going to basically join the local Facebook groups.
Yes.
As you. You're not going to mention who you work for, and you're just going to give great content. Just drip, 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 drip. And in 2-3 years' time, you can leave, and people will come to you.
And you'll already have that base of people who know who you are, who are choosing to follow you.
Yes, I mean, there's an estate agent in Grantham, Tony Ruby. He I don't think he deliberately set out, but he built his personal brand whilst working for another estate agent, and then 2 or 3 years later left, set up his under one of the self-employed models, and within 6 months he's in the top 3. I mean, are still going into it.
I mean, that's brilliant. You know, I do it myself. I write a lot. So LinkedIn is my channel 'cause I'm a B2B business. I'm dealing with business owners, and LinkedIn is a good route for that. And I do a bit of Facebook. And I've been posting every day, 2 or 3 days, content, just quick quotes, interesting things that I think that I've learned and understood about marketing that people could apply. And I get so many messages from people either thanking me, and a few people who've said, actually, we'd like to talk to you about that a bit more, in much more detail. Now, put that into a consumer space, it's on steroids.
Especially if you join local Facebook groups,
Absolutely.
as you, because if you're in Grantham, 100% of Grantham homeowners live in Grantham. Who's the only people that join Grantham Facebook groups? People from Grantham. So just don't share into groups, post in local groups. And if there's lots of local groups, post multiple times. Simon, thank you for your time today, and I'll see you on the next video where we'll be talking about something else about estate agency.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.